This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. The Supreme Court has affirmed the conviction of former Quezon City District 3 Councilor Dante de Guzman for graft involving more than 6 million pesos worth of ghost projects. In a 15-page decision made public Friday, the SC's First Division affirmed the Sandiganbayan's ruling that found de Guzman guilty of violating Section 3E of Republic Act No. 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Between 2008 to 2009, de Guzman facilitated the procurement of tents, kiddie raincoats, rain boots, food supplies and sports equipment for distribution to different barangays in his district. Following a bidding process, suppliers were selected and paid after delivery of the items to de Guzman's office. However, an anonymous complaint received by the Office of the Ombudsman alleged the existence of ghost employees and ghost projects involving Quezon City councillors, including de Guzman. Upon investigation, the Ombudsman found that while the items were delivered and received by de Guzman's staff, they were never distributed to the intended beneficiaries listed in the official distribution records. Instead, de Guzman made it appear that the goods were received by designated area coordinators, using what appeared to be falsified signatures. De Guzman was charged with 4 counts of graft. In his defense, he claimed that his signatures on the procurement documents had been forged. However, the Sandiganbayan rejected this defense and found him guilty. In affirming his conviction, the SC ruled that de Guzman's gross negligence caused undue injury to the Quezon City government. While he was not expected to personally distribute the items, he was responsible for ensuring they reached the intended recipients. However, the items were never distributed and could no longer be accounted for. The SC also dismissed de Guzman's claim of forgery, noting that he failed to prove that the procurement documents, which are presumed authentic as official records, were falsified. The SC sentenced him to 8 years for each of the 4 counts of graft, and ordered to pay the Quezon City government 6,411,261 pesos plus 6% annual interest. A councillor in the city of Manila is currently being investigated after a female councillor accused him of sexually harassing her during a city council session on Thursday, the 9th of October. In a speech, Councillor Eunice Castro of Manila's 4th District angrily chastised 4th District Councillor Ryan Ponce for his alleged repeated sexual innuendos on her during multiple occasions, one of which was when Castro reached out to Ponce for a high five to congratulate him for his eloquent way of speaking, but instead of shaking her hand, Ponce allegedly poked her palm, which is considered as a sexually suggestive gesture. Castro also disclosed several text messages from Ponce, including one where he was allegedly asking her about a certain type of massage. Upon searching it online, the councillor found that Ponce was referring to a massage that focuses on the female genitalia. The councillor also accused Ponce of repeatedly sending lewd comments to her, particularly about her clothing. "You also deleted a lot of random messages you sent to me, like you were wearing a see-through earlier. Good morning sexy. I was looking forward to what you were wearing earlier. Let me take a look at your good morning face and your pajamas, so it's really a good morning," Castro said. Castro ended her speech by urging abused and harassed women to speak up against their abusers. "To my fellow women in the city of Manila, throughout the Philippines, and around the world, you don't have to pretend to be treated right. You are not alone. I encourage you all, don't remain silent, don't lock yourselves up, and don't be afraid. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We must stand up against abusive people, call them out, and fight them the right way," she stressed. Following Castro's revelations, Ponce apologized to her, saying that he did not mean to cause her harm or offend her. "I stand here not to defend myself. I stand here to wholeheartedly, humbly apologize for what I did, for what I said," Ponce said. "It hurts so much that I have hurt someone so close to me and her family. So once again, I humbly accept my mistake and wholeheartedly ask for the forgiveness of my fellow council member," he added. Manila Vice Mayor Kaya Tinza, who also serves as the city council's presiding officer, expressed her support for Castro, adding that the issue has already been referred to the Committee on Ethics for investigation. "I stand with Councilor Eunice Castro and believe that what she has said during her privileged speech in our regular session today is admirable, as she has fought to have all the abused women's voices heard. In our society where women are bound to endure their pain in silence, finally, there is a woman who stands for them," Atinza said, adding that both the accuser and the accused must be given due process. She assured the public that the city council will not tolerate any form of harassment or abuse both inside and outside the session hall. The vice mayor explained that the Committee on Ethics and Good Government, as well as the city legal office, are already investigating the matter, wherein charges under the Civil Service Laws, Code of Conduct for Public Officials, and Republic Act 11313 or Safe Spaces Act, may be filed against those proven guilty. A former employee of the National Irrigation Administration Region 10 known for speaking out against corruption in the agency on social media was shot dead in Cagayan de Oro City on Friday, the 10th of October. Police identified the victim as Niracal Antatico, 40, married, and a Juris Doctor graduate. Investigation said the victim was killed by motorcycle riding gunmen at about 7 p.m. in Zone 1, crossing Patag. Antatico died on the spot. Police are conducting follow-up investigation and manhunt against the suspects. Cagayan de Oro Rep Lorden Suan condemned the murder of Antatico. I am deeply shocked and profoundly saddened by the brutal killing of my fraternal brother, Niracal Antatico, a committed crusader for good public service, truth, and justice, Suan said in a Facebook post. Nira devoted his life to exposing wrongdoing and holding power to account. His courage and bravery inspired men and strengthened our community's faith in principled public action. Suan added that he was gunned down by men riding in tandem in Barangay Patag is an appalling attack not only on one man but on the very ideals he stood for. As the congressman of the district where this cowardly act occurred, I condemn in the strongest possible terms this malicious and senseless violence, carried out to intimidate truth-tellers and men of principle. I call on law enforcement to conduct a swift, transparent, and thorough investigation so that justice may be delivered at the soonest possible time. Those who plotted and carried out this brutal killing must be found, prosecuted, and made to answer fully for their crimes. To Nira's family, please accept my deepest condolences. I share your grief and your outrage, and I stand with you in seeking the truth and ensuring that his sacrifice does not go unanswered. May Nira's memory continue to inspire our fight for truth, accountability, and the protection of those who speak out for the common good. The NIA Northern Mindanao said that Antatico's claims are being handled seriously. We are aware of recent social media posts raising concerns about certain NIA projects in the region. In response to these concerns, we want to reassure the public that these matters are being handled seriously, it said in a Facebook post. The NIA top management has already initiated a comprehensive review and verification process in collaboration with relevant offices and appropriate authorities. This is not the first time such concerns have been addressed, and the agency continues to prioritize transparency and accountability in all of its operations. Irregularities are not tolerated, the agency assured. NIA Northern Mindanao does not tolerate any form of irregularity in the implementation of its programs and projects. We remain committed in upholding the principles of transparency, integrity, and accountability in public service. We leave it with enforcement agencies that conduct investigation. We respectfully urge the public to avoid speculations and allow due process to take its course. Unidentified gunmen ambushed and killed a village councilman and his son in Ampatuan Town, Maguindanao del Sur, on Monday, the police in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao said. Lieutenant Colonel Joppy Ventura, spokesperson of Police Regional Office Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, identified the victims as Abusa Maragao, alias Commander Boy Negro, village councillor of Barangay Matagabong, Ampatuan Town, and his son Noradin, a member of Barangay Peacekeeping Action Team of Barangay Matagabong. Jahara, Abusama's daughter, was injured and was rushed by responding police to the Maguindanao Provincial Hospital in Datuhofa Town. Abusama is a field commander of the Moro National Liberation Front based in Ampatuan Town. The victims were on board a tricycle, locally known as Payong Payong, from Barangay Matagabong when attacked by motorcycle riding gunmen at 8:30 am in Barangay Kapinpilan, Ampatuan. Ventura said the Ampatuan police are still investigating the motive of the attack. A police officer assigned to the 1st Davao City Mobile Force Company was arrested in an entrapment operation on Friday afternoon, the 10th of October, for alleged involvement in illegal drug activities and extortion. The Davao City Police Office identified the suspect as Wang. Wang was arrested in Barangay Sasahir and yielded one sachet of suspected shabu weighing 4.80 grams and 30,000 pesos marked money. Police said the operation stemmed from validated intelligence reports indicating the suspect's involvement in illegal drug transactions and extortion activities. Pieces of evidence were turned over to appropriate units for laboratories examination and filing of criminal charges. Operatives used a recording device to ensure transparency and evidence integrity. DCPO Acting Director Police Colonel Manan Muarip said the suspect will also face administrative charges for conduct unbecoming of a police officer and grave misconduct, which may result in his dismissal from the service. This incident proves that no one is above the law, Muarip said, commending the operatives for their professionalism and diligence and highlighting their ongoing efforts to cleanse and reform the organization, maintaining the public's trust. A perjury complaint has been filed against a former executive of a water district in Bulacan over the alleged false statements he made before the Senate concerning a joint venture agreement with Prime Water Infrastructure Corporation. 5 members of the Kalapunan at Lakas NGMGA at Tinatanging Kababayan filed the complaint before the Pasay City Prosecutor's Office last week against Ivan Akalajit, an engineer and a former member of the Board of Directors of the San Jose del Monte Water District. In their complaint, the group asked the Office of the City Prosecutor to prosecute Kalajit for perjury under Article 183 of the Revised Penal Code as amended, and lawful publication under Article 154 of the RPC, and other crimes that may be found. In this case, Engineer Kalajit knowingly uttered false statements during the Senate inquiry that were broadcast live, reported by national and media outlets, and widely circulated online, the complaint stated. The complaint stemmed from Kalajit's testimony during a Senate hearing last the 29th of September concerning the JVA that was executed between SJDM Water District and Prime Water. The JVA between the SJDM Water District and Prime Water has been marked by recurring service failures, shortages, low pressure, intermittent supply, poor water quality, and rising costs, the complainant said. These conditions culminated in the board's 2025 declaration of intent to pre-terminate the JVA due to Prime Water's failure to meet its obligations, they added. During the Senate hearings, the group said that Kalajit accused the spouses Mayor Florida P. Robes and Congressman Arturo B. Robes of being promoters of Prime Water JVA and of controlling the board of directors of the SJDM Water District. Kalajit conveyed to the Senate and to the public that the SJDM board lacked independence and acted only as a tool of the spouses Robes. They alleged in their complaint. They also alleged that Kalajit's testimony unfairly placed blame on parties without evidence, misled the Senate committee, and obscured the real causes of the water service failures. At the same time, the complainant said that during the Senate hearing, Kalajit admitted he was no longer a member of the SJDM Water District when the JVA was reached. This admission proves that Engineer Kalajit had no personal knowledge of the board deliberations or decision-making process concerning the JVA, they said. Also, they claimed that Kalajit offered no corroboration whatsoever, no minutes of meetings, no board resolutions, no communications, and no testimony from other members of the board of directors to substantiate his claims. Thus, they pointed out, taken together, the sworn statements of Engineer Kalajit amount to a deliberate attempt to attribute responsibility for the JVA and its consequences to other people, specifically to the spouses Robes, despite the absence of any factual or legal foundation. The National Bureau of Investigation has filed criminal charges against an immigration officer assigned at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and a suspected illegal recruiter for their attempt to traffic a Filipina to Saudi Arabia. In a statement, the NBI said the charges were filed before the Pasay City Prosecutor's Office against Immigration Officer John Rayford Drogani and suspected illegal recruiter Abdullah Asnoy. They were charged with violation of Republic Act 9208, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, as amended. Asnoy was also charged with violation of RA 8042, the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995 as amended. The NBI said that immigration officers at NAIA intercepted Asnoy and a 20-year-old Filipina last October 1st before they could board their flight to Saudi Arabia. It said that Drogani, who remained at large, was charged for allowing, clearing, and facilitating the exit from the country of the victim without valid working permits or documents or complying with governmental requirements for the purpose of subjecting her to labor exploitation. It also said that Asnoy recruited the 20-year-old woman despite the violation of the age requirements to work in Saudi Arabia, which requires woman workers to be at least 23 years old. Asnoy and the Filipino were cleared for departure by Drogani but were later flagged down, it added. The NBI said its investigators learned from the Licensing and Regulations Bureau of the Department of Migrant Workers revealed that Asnoy is not licensed nor authorized to recruit workers for overseas employment. A police lieutenant has been dropped from the rolls after criminal and administrative charges were filed against him for allegedly raping a minor in Janatalan town, Cebu province. The police officer went into hiding after the alleged abuse was reported to the police on the 28th of September. The suspect was the acting commander of the Malabuayok Municipal Police Station when the alleged abuse happened. The alleged victim is 14 years old. Police Colonel Abubakar Manjalan Jr., chief of the Cebu Provincial Police Office, said the policeman is considered absent without official leave. Manjalan said the suspect can no longer be considered a policeman after he was delisted from the roster of the Philippine National Police. Manjalan said another member of the Malabuayok police was administratively charged for allegedly helping the suspect escape. Manjalan added that a warrant of arrest against the suspect is expected to come out soon. He is considered a fugitive of the law. He is no longer connected with Cebu Police Provincial Office of the Police Regional Office 7 in the Philippine National Police, Manjalan said. The abuse was uncovered when the victim's family sought help from the police. The relatives alleged that the police official brought the victim to a resort where the alleged abuse happened. The Office of the Ombudsman has ordered the dismissal from service of the mayor and incumbent vice mayor of the municipality of Zaraga in Iloilo for grave misconduct. In a 22-page decision dated the 12th of September, ordered dismissed were Mayor Maria Joffel Soldevilla and Vice Mayor Michael Omar Lacson. The dismissal of Soldevilla and Lacson also carries accessory penalties of cancellation of eligibility, forfeiture of retirement benefits, perpetual disqualification from holding public office, and bar from taking civil service examinations. Meanwhile, 7 others, including Councillor Jose Jeffrin Millan and Rolando Papa, ex-officio members Nalida Octaviano and Mark Andrian Sulodan, Accountant Ira Lurden, Budget Officer Glezel Lozanes and Treasurer Leonora Poa were found administratively liable for simple misconduct. They were each meted with 6 months suspension without pay, except for Papa, who is no longer a councillor, and was ordered to pay a fine equivalent to 6 months of a councillor's basic salary. The case stemmed from the 2023 purchase of the town's local shelter plan without the authority of the municipal council. A complaint filed by Andre Bonsumagase said Lacson, who was then still a councillor, Millan, Octaviano and Sulolan approved a resolution authorizing Soldevilla to enter into a contract to sell on the 22nd of March, 2023. Those who voted to approve the resolution allegedly did not muster the qualified majority of the Sanggunian, as the other members, including the complainant, were on official business. The subject's parcel of land with a contract price of 11.6 million pesos was registered in the name of Orlando Lacson, the late father of Councillor Lacson. An initial payment of 5 million pesos was paid to Councillor Lacson, being the sole heir of the registered owner, upon the execution of the contract to sell on the 13th of July, 2023. The Ombudsman ruled that there was substantial evidence to hold respondents liable for misconduct. It said Soldevilla and Lacson entered into a contract to sell without authority. What was issued was a general authorization because there was no property identified, and the resolution does not contain specifics of the contract. Also, Soldevilla created an unauthorized indebtedness for the LGU since the amount paid was only 5 million pesos, leaving a balance of over 6.6 million pesos. The amount was also paid to Lacson, who did not have the right to dispose of the property since the lot was not yet transferred to his name. The facts of the case and the evidence on record have indubitably established that respondents Soldevilla and Lacson, municipal mayor and SB member, respectively, conspired with each other and unlawfully used their official positions to advance their personal interest, the ruling said. A police officer was among 4 suspects arrested by operatives of the Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group after they were caught transporting allegedly smuggled cigarettes in Aligan City on Friday. Personnel from the City Highway Patrol Team Aligan were conducting a plate spotting and anti-carnapping operation when they attempted to flag down a black pickup truck. The said vehicle sped away, prompting a brief chase that ended with the suspects being intercepted by police. They got away from one checkpoint to another. That's why they chased him there. Police Colonel Hansel Maranton, acting director of the PNP-HPG said. Upon inspection, authorities discovered several boxes of suspected smuggled cigarettes inside the vehicle. A 9mm pistol and 2 magazines loaded with 30 live rounds were also recovered from the scene. One of the arrested suspects was identified as a police staff sergeant assigned to a municipal police station in Lanao del Norte. Investigators are now verifying if he was leading the group. I supposed he was the leader, Staff Sergeant but initial investigation, he said he wasn't. It's yet to be investigated, Miranton said. Authorities were also found a 14-year-old minor among the group. The child has been turned over to the Women and Children Protection Desk for proper handling. Miranton said groups involved in illicit activities may face heavier charges, especially if the value of the smuggled goods exceeds 10 million pesos. That's the point of the meeting earlier with the chief PNP. We have to get to the bottom. And then the case that was filed is quite lethal. If the value is more than P10 million, they'll find that special law, and that's no bail, he explained. We are now investigating the police officer's involvement, and rest assured, we will not protect our own if the law has been violated, he added. The suspects are now facing multiple charges, including illegal possession of firearms, resistance and disobedience to a person in authority, and violations of customs and anti-smuggling laws. A 34-year-old chairwoman of Purok 5 in Barangay Linawan, Cagayan, Negros Occidental was shot dead by 5 unidentified persons outside her home on Tuesday night, the 14th of October. Initial investigation revealed that the perpetrators, reportedly armed with long firearms, arrived in front of the victim's house and instructed family members to go inside. While the suspects were talking to the victim, gunshots rang out and fled. The victim was declared dead in a hospital from multiple bullet wounds. Recovered from the crime scene were an empty cartridge case of a 5.56mm rifle, an empty cartridge case, 2 deformed bullets, and a deformed slug of 7.62mm rifle. Police, along with personnel of the Army 15th Infantry Battalion, responded to the area to probe the incident. Motive is yet to be determined by authorities. That's all for this week. I'll see you next Friday with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.